Hi everyone, it's me again, Zoey Roy, Respond to Racism artist. This is video 3 of a 4-part series of a project that we're calling The Roles of Racism. I am hoping that you enjoyed the last few activities and that you're getting something out of this that's important and meaningful in your own life. So for this video, I want to go over some terms that I think are important to understand when looking at the different levels of racism. There are 3 key factors really worth delving into when looking at racism, and they're important to understand because they can show you the different levels of how racism functions. For the first one, it's personally mediated. The second one is internalized, and the third one is institutional. The first one that we're going to talk about is personally mediated. It basically means that a person or a group of people have negative biases of another person or a group of people, and this is based on assumption. I want to say that personally mediated racism is really rooted in fear. I mean, if you've never got to know someone from a particular racialized group, then how could you make assumptions about an entire group of people? But it happens all the time. It can happen intentionally. For example, someone calling another person down and using their racialized identity as a weapon against them to antagonize them. For example, someone calling another person the N-word, or even using the N-word. Whether Black people are in the vicinity or not, you're using a derogatory term to denigrate an entire group of people. But it can also happen unintentionally, like someone in your class being consistently excluded or othered based on their racialized background. This can be influenced by racism or prejudice influenced by bias, same thing. It can happen through omission, like when people say, "I don't see color." But when people say, "I don't see color," they are actively ignoring the real racism that racialized people experience. Or when Black history or Indigenous history is skimmed through, inaccurately presented, or presented by a colonial view in textbooks, assignments, or lessons. It can also manifest as a collective lack of respect for a culture, shared with the lack of desire to learn about that culture. Or it happens when people completely devalue a culture, only take parts of the culture that is suitable for their needs at the time. For example, when people wear blackface or Indigenous costumes on Halloween, or when people are wearing tomahawks and headdresses to football games. Or when teachers have less expectations of students from a racialized background based on the assumption that they must have it hard at home. And this all results in internalized racism. Internalized racism means that a person believes or accepts the negative stereotypes about themselves. This leads to racialized people giving priority to embracing and learning about whiteness. It leads kids to denying or rejecting their own culture. It leads kids to having the "I don't know" and "I don't care" attitude. Some kids feel an immense amount of rejection, and this could turn into hopelessness. And this is all based on the fact that they can't change their skin color. They can't change where they come from. It can lead kids to dropping out of school. It can lead kids to stop caring about themselves. And the suffering can happen in really, really silent ways. Institutionalized racism is the last term that we're going to cover in this video. It basically means the power to decide how resources are shared and the rules that are made to govern an entire nation, a province, or a municipality. A good exercise would be to look at an institution. Schools are institutions, so let's look at a school and write down all of the services that school has to offer. Then write out what they offer, who it benefits, and who's left out. Racism was constructed by people based on ideas and opinions. And it is through our ideas and opinions that we can use our voice to speak out against bias, prejudice, discrimination, and racism. Before I leave, I want to share a story with you. So in high school, there was this girl who was scared of me. And she thought that I was going to fight her. There was a rumor going around the school, just as rumors do, and it got back to her like that. It's not what I said. But we were able to address the situation, and she felt better by the end of our conversation, where I was able to clear things up. And this girl felt safe. She felt safe to go to school. And I learned in that moment that I have the power to make people feel unsafe, and I also have the power to make people feel safe. And I really like to make people feel safe. You will see the impact that you'll have on your family, on your own life, on your community, by using your power for good. This video was created for a school audience and is a part of the Respond to Racism project brought to us by Commonweal Community Arts. This is video 3 of a 4-part series, and attached to the video you will find an activity sheet that you are encouraged to reflect on and take your time with it. This is a hard conversation, but I've learned that all growth is uncomfortable. So it might feel a little weird, but you'll get through it, and that's how you'll grow. All right, bye for now.